Well, good morning. Yes, here we are. We are reaching the conclusion, right, of our wonderful book that we have been working through. We've been working through this book and these spiritual principles in the Abundance Project, Derek Rydell's The Abundance Project, all the way from the beginning. And we're not just reading about it, we're not just learning about it, we are putting it into practice. Right? We're putting it into practice. And so from the first week, we started investigating what the true source of all of our abundance is, and which is the infinite universal divine, the source of all of our good. And then we distinguished that from what we had once thought of as our source, like our job or our investments or our spouse or our Social Security. And we see that for what it truly is, simply the channels through which the universe gives of itself to us, which it is always seeking to do. The universe is always seeking to give more of itself to life. And then we looked at the 5 abundance blind spots. Pat Webster helped us with that, and we got really clear about what we thought what abundance was and, what some of our beliefs were around it. And then we started playing with those 7 spiritual gifts, those 7 gifts that give us everything, right? And then we really jumped into the law of circulation in some key areas of our lives. So we're well on our way. Yeah, so who here has had an opening of some kind? An increase, okay, I see a hand down there, I see a few hands, great. An increase in some kind of abundance, whether that's love or joy or fulfillment or success or prosperity. Yeah. Raise your hand. You have, right? And if you haven't yet received or allowed the fullness of that abundant good to flow into your life, then it might be due to one of 2 issues that we're going to talk about today. And one is the abundant shadows, and the other is values conflicts. All right, this is really meaty here. This is chapter 6, and this is full of all kinds of... So we want to take a deep breath together. Feel that spirit, just that love, holding us as we move through this. So let's jump in together. So as we talked about from the beginning, and you all know, the topic of money and prosperity is, it's a little bit difficult to talk about. It's a touchy topic, right? It is. But here's the thing. It's a great part of our lives. Money is a big part of our lives. And so if we are conscious beings, if we're on a path of spiritual and personal growth, then we want to be conscious about it. We want to have a healed relationship with anything that's a big part of our lives, right? So that's what we're doing here. Because, boy, there's a lot of fear around money. In this culture, in many cultures, a lot of fear. If we don't, I'm afraid I'm not going to have enough, which creates a lot of problems. Or I'm afraid of people who have too much. And then we have a lot of judgment about that. And then our judgment goes into overdrive when we think about people who are really rich, right? There's a lot of baggage around money and prosperity and wealth and success because, particularly for those of us in spiritual community, because there is this belief in the collective unconscious that money is not spiritual. Right? We know that monks and nuns and saints and sages throughout the ages have taken vows of poverty in order to free themselves from the material world and reach enlightenment, which some have, some have. I'm thinking, of a few mystics, Julian of Norwich and St. Francis of Assisi. And now, of course, they were doing many other things to, to reach enlightenment, right? And here's the thing, no matter how you try, you really can't get around the fact that we live in a material world. As Sting sang, we are spirits in a material world, our spirits in a material world, right? Know that song, right? Yes, okay, what do you think he was thinking about? That's it. But here's the thing, as we talked about from the beginning, money it's neutral. It's just energy. It's neutral. So it's really the thoughts and the beliefs and the attitudes and the stuff that we have around it, who has it, who doesn't, what we think about people who have it, what we think about ourselves when we don't have it, what we think we need to do to get it, what we're unconsciously doing to get rid of it. All of that creates the craziness around money. Now, most of this is unconscious, right? It's unconscious, but it's there. In fact, most of our thoughts and our attitudes about this are living in the shadows. It's living in the shadows. So today, we're going to expose those old beliefs and those attitudes and those, all of that stuff that we have around this and bring it to the light for healing. So, the shadows, so we've talked many times in the past about the shadow self, what our shadow is. It's that kind of rejected part of us, that part of us we can't really accept, that we don't like about ourselves. We can't even admit that's part of us. And so we push it down, we push it away, or we project it onto somebody else, or we push it down so far we think it's gone away. But it hasn't. It's gone underground where it becomes toxic. And it really creates the block for the full experience of abundance. And even if we do manage to have abundance and create it in our lives, it kind of short circuits the joy around that. And so that's why we want to kind of expose these shadows, see what they are, and see maybe where they've come from. Like a lot of things, a lot of these shadows are formed in our childhood, right? So maybe you grew up in a family that was really struggling to make ends meet, or maybe in poverty, and you vowed to yourself you would do whatever it takes to never experience that, to never have your children go through that. Or maybe you grew up in a wealthy family, but you didn't see your parents because they were so busy working so hard that they never spent any time with you. Or maybe you couldn't trust the reason your friends wanted to be your friends. Or maybe you witnessed your parents having horrible arguments about money repeatedly. And so there's this, internalized thing that money is bad. Or maybe you were chastised for wanting too much, asking too much, being selfish or greedy or demanding. And so, you learn not to do that real quick. Or maybe your parents kind of really looked up to, people who are rich and famous and successful. And so then you began to equate your value with how much you earned. I'm dealing with that. Or maybe you grew up, when you were a kid and you witnessed some of your peers winning things you felt that they didn't deserve. Or maybe they moved into a big, beautiful house with a pool and you are sharing with your family this cramped little apartment and you felt like, life is just unfair. It's just unfair. And so you learn to live with less. and ask for less and want less and live small. Is any of this touching anybody? Does anybody relate to any of this? Of course, there's a million different configurations of family configurations that can confuse the messages about abundance and prosperity. So pick your own. Again, it's mostly unconscious. And even the part that we are conscious about, we don't want to think about it, we just ignore it. And so, again, it goes into the formation of this abundance shadow. He calls it an abundant shadow that is always seeking to be healed. It's seeking to be healed and reintegrated. Life is always giving us plenty of opportunities to heal, isn't it? A lot of opportunities to heal. And so, that's one of the reasons that we're doing this. We're playing in this universe of healing, and getting clear about who we are and why we're here and being on purpose, expressing the fullness that is within us. Whatever it is that we need to do that, we're here to play in this together and to support each other in it, right? Yeah. So he says that these shadows, which have blocked our full experience of joy, fulfillment, abundance, prosperity, whatever, he says that they can be gifts, that we can look at them as rich soil. In fact, he says, all those dark, seemingly dirty parts of us are the fertile soil within which our seed of potential can grow. The fertile soil within which our seed of potential can grow. So, most of this chapter is filled with exercises designed to uncover these old beliefs and these shadows and these values conflicts, and to really see what they are, and to see our judgments. A lot of our judgments about it are unconscious, about money and prosperity. And even where he's asking us to take a look at some of our personal, cultural, religious, or gender-based beliefs that we have unconsciously about money. And then we begin to reintegrate it. And that becomes the fertile soil for the healing. And so I thought what we'd do today is at least a part of one of the exercises, just to kind of give you a taste that we can do it, together. A part of this that is, they're questions to help reveal the shadow, and they're kind of fill in the blank questions. So if you would take that out, it's in your program. There's a handout in your program that has these questions, and we're going to do it together. And then, maybe you'll get excited about doing this and you'll go to the book and finish them, or you'll do it with the book study group. All right, so before we write anything down, before we do this, let's just take a moment and, settle in, connect in, take a deep breath, and really connect with that divine wisdom within, which is in the solar plexus. And breathe into that center. And just really connect that power of divine wisdom is right there. And it can give us all the answers we're looking for. So we don't have to overthink this. We don't have to use our intellect. We can do this just by going with the first response that comes from our gut. Okay. Take a deep breath, come back, and the first question is, and does everybody have a pen? If you don't have a pen, raise your hand. There should be some in the seat back in front of you, but if there isn't, you got it? Okay. All right. So again, first response to this question, fill in the blank or complete the sentence. If I have or make a lot of money or wealth, I'm afraid that, ... Complete that. The second question is, if I have or make a lot of money or wealth, I'm afraid people will think that I am. I'm afraid other people will think that I am. Complete that sentence. And breathe. The next one is, if I strive for money or wealth, I am afraid that. If I strive for wealth or money, I'm afraid that. Complete the sentence. Again, allow that response to come up. For those of you joining online, I hope that there is the questions that are being put up there while I'm doing this. Yes? So you can do it as well. All right, and the last one in this section is, really wealthy people are, fill in the blank. Again, first response, really wealthy people are. Okay, the next section of this is about success and popularity. Abundance, calls it. And the first question in this section is, if I have a lot of success or popularity, I'm afraid that. If I have a lot of success or popularity, I'm afraid that, ... And then that second sentence might clarify it a little bit more. If I have a lot of success and popularity, I'm afraid that people will think that I am. That other people will think that I am. Allow that response to come up. Write it down. All right, the next sentence is, if I strive for success or popularity, I'm afraid that. If I strive for success or popularity, I'm afraid that. And the last one, people who are really successful or popular are ... People who are really successful or popular are. All right. Let's come on back. Okay, this can be pretty revealing. You can get a good idea pretty quickly where this, where we are putting up barriers or where we're having difficulty allowing a healed relationship, a healthy relationship with abundance, where that's getting in the way of having a healthy relationship with abundance. So hopefully you'll finish these exercises are in chapter 6 in your book. We can do them in the book study. You can do them on your own and then talk about them later. You know, this is getting the stuff that's already in there conscious so that we can get it to the light and heal it. So it's not unconsciously running us anymore and sabotaging our efforts. And then the next step is to embrace yourself, embrace the fullness of who you are, including these things, including all of these shadows. So this is the fertile soil, the part where our seed grows, right? And one way to do this is to look at what we have developed in opposition to these shadow parts of us. In other words, if we can't accept something about ourselves, we'll build muscles that are the opposite of that, what we think is more acceptable, right? In being a good person, right? I don't want to be like that. I want to be a good person. So we develop these muscles, develop opposing things. So for example, if your shadow self is selfish and demanding and, whatever, then you might develop the qualities in opposition to that of being selfless and generous and giving and compassionate and having humility, which are wonderful qualities, right? Those are wonderful qualities. So this is one of the gifts of the shadow, is that we develop these muscles, we develop into really good people. We develop this in opposition to this. Now, what we want to do is balance it out. We want to balance this loving, generous, compassionate, humble person with, as he says in the book, your selfish diva bitch. He says it right in the book. You're a selfish diva bitch, right? We want to balance it out because being a humble, selfless, loving person is great. We want that. But it's not going to give us the agency we need to ask for what we need and ask for what we want. So it's a bit of a balancing, right? We want to kind of balance that out. So hopefully these exercises will help do that. Okay, let's move on to values conflicts. So, what do you value most in your life? Well, just look at your life and see what's there, what you have an abundance of. So if you have a lot of friends and you enjoy spending time with your friends, then you value love and relationships. And if you have a lot of money, then you value prosperity and wealth. If you have a lot of success, then you value work and maybe even your potential, your purpose in life. If you have a committed spiritual practice, you value spiritual growth. Let me just pause that for a minute. Look at that. Because in order to value, if you're valuing spiritual growth, you got to have a committed spiritual practice. That's kind of part of it. So here's the thing. A lot of people think that these two kind of values are opposite, that they're on opposite sides and they conflict with each other. In other words, you can't have a lot of love and relationships and friends and have a successful career. Or you can't have a lot of money and good health or do self-care. And you can't have a rich spiritual life and have wealth. So this sets up for us this push-pull, either or dynamic that sabotages one or the other of these things. So another example that you might relate to, I know some people here are consider themselves artists or creatives, right? So a lot of times there's an inner conflict, an inner values conflict between artistic integrity and commercial success, right? And so again, that creates this push-pull either or that sabotages one thing or another. I saw my sister go through this. I myself, have this inner conflict between being a spiritually mature person and wealth. It feels like this one, you're going to sabotage one or the other. And so, here's the thing. This is false dichotomy here. It's not either or, it's both and. It's both and. And so what he's saying in this book is that we can bring these together. We can rewire our brains and rewire these values together and get them working on the same team. Get them working together. That's what we want to do, is fuse them together so that it doesn't sabotage one or the other of these things that we want, right? And so he has a couple of exercises in the book about doing this, and one of them is to first reveal, the things that you feel you're in conflict with. And so I have a few of them. Just to give you a gist, I'll just read through a few of them. And, if you just play along in your mind with this. But if something really stands out, you go, aha, then write it down. If I become wealthy, I'm afraid I have to sacrifice what? If I become really successful, I'm afraid I have to sacrifice ... If I love my family and I want to spend more time with them, I'm afraid I'll have to sacrifice what? And if I grow into a spiritually mature person, I'm afraid I'll have to sacrifice this. So this is designed to get us to think about what might be this inner conflict, this inner values conflict. Again, it's not either or, it's both and. We want to bring them together. And how we do this is we can create an affirmation that includes both of these things. So I'm going to read you a few of them, and if this resonates with you, you can repeat it after me. The more I attend to my spiritual growth, the wealthier I become. The more I attend to my spiritual growth, the wealthier I become. How about the more time I spend with my family and friends, the more successful I become. The more time I spend with my family and friends, the more successful I become. The more I attend to my art or creativity, the more commercial success I have. The more I attend to my art or creativity, the more commercial success I have. So are you getting the gist of this, what this is? Okay, would anybody like to volunteer creating an affirmation that would bring two of these? Susie, you raised your hand right up there. Okay.
So the more time I spend in spirit, the more extra time and sleep I have.
Oh, okay. She says the more time I spend in spirit, the more extra time I have to sleep? Free time and sleep. Okay. So you're fusing those two things, those values together. All right. Thank you. Anybody else have something that they think that they're conflicting values and you'd like to bring them together with an affirmation? Pat.
The more success I have, the more time I will also have for play and relaxation.
Oh, I like that. The more success I have, the more time I have for play and relaxation.
And family.
And family. Let's throw that in there. And to kick over my beverage container. Good. That's good. I like that one. I'm going to borrow that one. Yeah. Anybody else can think of? Yeah. Go ahead.
The more time I spend on spiritual practice, the more time I have to make a contribution to my community.
Ooh.
That's the dichotomy I have.
Right. The more time I spend in spiritual practice,
The more time I have to make a contribution to my community.
the more time I have to make a contribution to my community. Is that a good one? Yeah, that's good. Tim?
The sooner I retire from work, the more wealth and creativity I will experience.
Oh, the sooner I retire from work, the more wealth and creativity I'll experience. Yeah, right? Okay, one more. Anybody want? Yeah, Oswaldo.
The more money I have, the more spirit experience I have.
The more money I have, the more spiritual experience I have. Yes. Yeah. Okay, I love that. Fusing these two together, they don't have to be separate. Now, here's the thing. I want you to come up this week with an affirmation that brings two, everybody's got them, right? You got them. So you want to bring these two values conflicts together in an affirmation and really commit to doing it. You know, not just once or twice or, you know, read it once a day. You know, bring it into your life. You know, keep affirming it while you're in the shower, while you're going for a walk, before you go to sleep at night. You know, affirm it over and over. So you're rewiring these things in your brain. Okay, well, this brings our study of the Abundance Project to a conclusion. Well, for the talks, the Sunday talks, we are still have a book study this afternoon, which Maria is leading, and then Monday night we have the author who's actually zooming in and helping us discover these things. He's going to be doing some free coaching, and then we'll decide after that, you know, what we want to do. If you want to continue with this, if this has been a rich experience, you want to continue and take it even deeper, we'll have conversations about maybe continuing that. So talk to myself or Maria about that.
And if you even if you haven't joined any of the book studies so far and you want to join today, join us. Please.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yeah,
Anybody's welcome.
yeah, because it's all new stuff, right? Or it's not new and we're deepening it. One of the two. Okay. Peace and blessings. Namaste. Hi. If this video has inspired you, opened your heart, expanded your consciousness, filled you with hope, empowered you in some way, we encourage you to support what we offer here at Unity Center of Peace by making your donation now. And thank you.